Is a growing crisis for deer populations across the region. Chronic wasting disease is spreading at an alarming rate, and experts say once it's in a herd, there's really no turning back. Wildlife officials issued these warnings as the disease continues to spread among the deer across our state. The fatal neurological illness has been found in Luzerne and Carbon counties, raising concerns about its impact on hunting. The disease spreads through infected saliva, urine, and carcasses, and officials urge hunters to follow the testing guidelines to try to identify the infected animals.
The zombie deer disease has returned, and experts say it's spreading. While it sounds like something out of The Walking Dead, chronic wasting disease is actually very real.
And as Fox 5's Stephanie Bertini shows us, there's concern it could jump to humans.
Tonight, we're looking into how dangerous the zombie deer disease really is. Earlier this week, we reported about an increase in zombie deer disease in several states, including right here in Kansas.
First case of chronic wasting disease has been confirmed here in Georgia. The Georgia Department of Natural Resources says that a deer harvested in Lanier County tested positive for the deadly neurological disease.
A disease found in Minnesota deer has reached the endemic stage in some parts of southeast Minnesota. That means it's likely to stay in the area.
We just see less deer around the area.
Chronic wasting disease, or CWD, is a deadly neurological disease that is rare among Minnesota deer. However, it has been slowly on the rise since 2023. From July 2023 to June 2024, there were more than 60 positive cases, but from July 2024 to present day, there has been more than 90 cases. This is not something new for local hunters.
We've talked to the DNR, and we went to meetings and got more information about it.
According to the DNR, CWD is most commonly found in Fillmore County and Winona County. William McBride has been hunting in Fillmore County for about 50 years, and he says the disease has affected what he does.
Part of the challenge is that with the DNR using sharpshooters and bigger quotas for shooting deer, that our population is going down, so it's a little harder to hunt that way, but we understand why they're doing it, to keep the infection down.
Chronic wasting disease, or CWD, dubbed zombie disease in deer, is spreading according to experts.
It has been spreading, and it's now found in most states.
Begging the question, are humans at risk?
I think that until we see very clear evidence of transmission from animal to a human, we have to state that there does not appear to be a risk, but that can change.
Yellowstone National Park recently confirmed a case of CWD after a deer carcass tested positive for the highly contagious and fatal brain disease.
DNR officers recently confirmed a case of chronic wasting disease in deer up north in northern Michigan. That's as the department is reconsidering a ban on deer baiting that's meant to stop the spread of the disease.
New warning for local deer hunters. Chronic wasting disease has been confirmed in LaGrange County. The Indiana DNR says they are focusing on watching the disease spread to keep hunters informed and to help Hoosiers adjust to the presence of this disease in local deer populations. Now, it's not only limited to deer, it also infects mule deer, elk, and moose as well. This disease will give animals a zombie-like appearance, cause behavioral changes and excessive drooling. It's not been shown to infect humans, but the meat from these infected animals could pose a possible risk.
For chronic wasting disease, according to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, a 20-month-old and 8-month-old tested positive for the illness. And chronic wasting disease is a neurological issue that is fatal and can be passed to other deer. There are no reports of any in East Texas.
Kentucky officials are alerting residents after detecting a second case of chronic wasting disease in deer. The Kentucky Department of Agriculture says a dead deer tested positive on October 11th at a deer farm in Breckinridge County. The disease is sometimes called the zombie deer disease and is usually fatal to infected animals. Officials say there is no vaccine or treatment. Scientists think it spreads between animals through contact with fluids of an infected animal. State agriculture officials are monitoring the illness. The Center for Disease Control says there is no strong evidence indicating the illness can infect people.
The Ohio Department of Natural Resources says chronic wasting disease was found in a couple dozen deer killed during the last hunting season. 23 deer taken by hunters in Allen, Hardin, Marion, and Wyandotte counties tested positive for CWD. Those counties were considered disease surveillance areas by the Division of Wildlife. Another deer in Morrow County also tested positive this year, the first for that county. According to the CDC, there is no strong evidence that the disease can be transmitted to humans. Chronic wasting disease first discovered in the wild in Ohio 5 years ago.
It's happened in Pennsylvania, and it's just another area that's going to be affected with it. So unfortunately, the hunters in that area are going to have to adapt to the new regulations and rules and that are going to be set forth for chronic wasting disease.
Some new CWD results are in from the North Dakota Game and Fish Department, and they show just how many deer were impacted by the disease last year. Chronic wasting disease, or CWD, is a fatal disease that can impact deer, moose, and elk. Biologists with the department tested nearly 1,500 animals for it. They say 17 tested positive, 15 were taken by hunters, 2 were confirmed through diagnostic examination. New this year, they say 2 new cases were detected in 2 new units. One is 3B3, which includes portions along the Missouri River. The other is 3B2, that's just west and south of Lake Sakakawea.
New information out tonight from the CDC. They say Kansas deer are testing positive for zombie deer.
It's a deadly disease found in several states across the U.S., and it could also spread to humans. KSNT News reporter Dan Garrett has been talking to experts about this bizarre disease.
It's a disease that's seen in the deer family. They get this abnormal protein. It causes them to, over time, over a year or two, develop these holes in their brain so they can't feed themselves, and eventually they'll die.
Although there are no confirmed cases in New York State, the Department of Environmental Conservation is alerting people, including asking everyone, not to feed wild deer or moose. Warning, feeding artificially concentrates animals in one location for extended periods of time, increasing the likelihood of diseases to spread.
We're concerned about it transmitting to humans is because it's in the same class of diseases as mad cow.
A human version of mad cow disease is believed to be caused by eating contaminated beef products. Therefore, experts say venison could put humans at risk for chronic wasting disease.
It would likely be transmitted through consumption.
Brooke, the talk around zombie deer disease surfaced earlier this month when a researcher from the University of Minnesota asked for almost $2 million from the Minnesota legislature to study zombie deer disease. He compares it to mad cow disease, which did make its way from cows to humans. But I spoke to national and local experts to find out if this is something you should actually worry about. Chronic wasting disease was discovered in Colorado in the 1970s. Some also refer to it as zombie deer.
Drew Forster owns Farview Farms Meat Company. This outbreak of zombie deer in Kansas concerns him because customers bring in deer that they've killed to get them processed. He says now that more and more cases of the deadly deer disease have been found in Kansas, it's not a matter of if it will affect his business, but when.
And it's kind of inched its way closer this way, kind of it's coming down from the north and in from the west. Eventually we will have the issue here, and that will affect how we process meat.
The problem is, if a deer becomes infected, it could take years before it shows any signs. But there's problems even in trying to prevent humans from eating an infected deer. Ron Kaufman with the Department of Wildlife says that's because zombie deer is hard to spot.
They are usually emaciated. They may be salivating, they may stumble, they may be disoriented, may be weak.
The disease spreads from deer to deer by eating and drinking in the same spots. The CDC says there's no known cases of humans being infected with the disease, so it is not known how it can impact a person. Given how it affects deer, they don't want to find out.
We already have to keep track of the county where the animal comes from so that we know whether it came from a possible CWD county or not.
While the disease is predominantly only impacting western Kansas, it could be more prevalent in the northeast part of the state in just a couple years.